So there are some new roles and terms in self-determination that are very different than in our traditional service model. So some of these new roles and terms are person-centered planning, independent facilitator, financial management service, budgeting, but the individual budget and the spending plan. So this is just a quick graphic of all the different components and how they work together to support somebody in self-determination. So the person-centered plan is the plan that the individual makes for their life. The individual can choose to have a person-centered plan developed outside of their person-centered IPP, and this can be completed by an individual or an agency that they select, or it can be developed by the individual themselves. If they pay for it, it's funded by the regional center. So that's kind of a plus to have an outsider perspective, and a lot of folks really do appreciate having that. And the independent facilitator, the individual chooses to help them implement their plan. So this can be a paid or unpaid position. The independent facilitator is managed by the individual and helps as much or as little as the individual wants them to. If the individual wants to keep their service coordinator as their facilitator, they certainly can do that as well. The budget is essentially the amount of money the individual will have to spend on services and supports in self-determination. It starts with the amount of money the regional center spent on services for the person over the last 12 months. And this amount can be increased or decreased if there are unmet needs or a change in circumstances. But in order for money to be added to the budget, the services and supports being considered must be those that the individual qualifies for based on need, and that the regional center would have funded for that person in the traditional system. For example, if the regional center cannot add money into the budget to pay for an independent facilitator, since that service is not funded in the traditional system. The spending plan is essentially how the person will spend the money identified in the budget to pay for services and supports in self-determination. This is the really fun piece of everything, right? You get to think outside the box, and you get to decide what kinds of services are going to help me meet my goals that I wasn't able to access before due to having to select contracted service providers. The spending plan is developed by the person and the people that they choose to help them, and it can include services and supports that are not funded in the service system. But those services and supports must help them meet their person-centered goals. So they can't just purchase anything out there. It has to tie into their person-centered IPP and help them meet their goals. The financial management services agencies, the FMS agencies, the FMS is the only required service in self-determination, and essentially it pays the bills. Depending on the services and supports the person chooses, the FMS also supports with ensuring service providers meet certain qualifications, helps the individual with understanding and following laws that govern employers, and helps the person stay on track with their spending plan so they're not overspending. Services and supports, these are chosen by the person, as we have said, to help them meet their person-centered goals. They can be vendored or non-vendored services, and the contract for the services is really between the individual receiving the services and the provider. And services provided must meet certain federal rules. So the services must be provided in the community. They must support choice and inclusion. So all of those waiver requirements that we hear about for HCBS compliant, they have to be HCBS compliant.